Hello there, how's it going everybody? In this video I'm going to talk to you about input tag in HTML. So input tag is used for getting user input. If you have a user and if you want to get input from that user, you need to use this input tag. But here I have to mention something. In the beginning of our course, we said we're going to learn in this course HTML and CSS, but only using these two technologies you cannot get user input. For getting user input, we need to use one other language, and that is called JavaScript. But in this video series, we will not cover JavaScript, and that is why actually we will not get actual or exact user input but I will show you how we can do this using HTML. So we're going to create our input tag and we're going to see how we can get user input. Like I said before, it will not actually it will not exact getting user input, but when you can, if you know JavaScript or if you know how to use JavaScript and the HTML together, you can get this user input from the user. Okay guys, let's get started. First of all, I need to create here the input tag. I'm gonna say the input tag, but this input tag a little bit different than other because it is also single tag or one line or one way tag. I'm gonna say the input tag, and after writing input tag, we can type out the attribute, our attribute, and my attribute will be the type. And type of this input tag will be at the first, let's make this text. Okay, and I'm gonna just close this tag. Okay, if I refresh this page, you can see I have here already a text box that I can write whatever I want. And for example, you can come here and you can say at the beginning, you can see if I write here something, I can see what I write here. But let's see if you want to write here a password, what you can do. For doing this, let's just create one more. I'm gonna say here this time not text, I'm gonna say password. Okay, and let's just write here the BR, there is break. If I write here, for example, my password 1 2 3 4 5 6, but if I write here this 1 2 3 4 5 6, and you can see it became the hidden and just the little 6 dots, black dots. Okay guys, this is our text type and this is our password type. For example, if you want to give here the default name, for example, write here your name or write here your password, you can do here. Let's come here after this text. I'm just gonna say the value and I'm gonna write here the enter your name. Okay, for example, this text is used for getting name. If I refresh this page, you can see I got this enter your name. Let's enter our name. For example, my name is SS Academy. Okay, like this. And you can also give names to your types, to your input tag. For example, let's just name it. I want to say name. For example, I'm going to write here the name tag. Okay, if I refresh this, actually nothing will change, but I will just give name to this tag. For example, if you want to give one more tag like this, you can give this name the surname tag. Okay, and let's write here enter your surname. Okay, if I refresh this page, actually let's write here the BR tag and let's refresh. You can see enter your name and enter your surname. So we can change these types here. We can change this type to the other inputs. For example, let's change this to checkbox, not char set. Actually, I need to write. Let's just remove this name here. I'm gonna say the type is, for example, the checkbox. If I refresh this page, you see down here, it is already a checkbox. You can click on this or you can unclick. For example, let's just remove them. I don't need them anymore. Let's change this to, I will just remove this value from here. Let's just remove. For example, I want to change this to radio button. If I refresh this page, you can see it is already a radio button. For example, let's create one more radio button. And if I refresh this page, you can see I have here 2 radio buttons here. Or we can give here the date. If I refresh this page, you can see it is a date. If you click on this, you're going to see, for example, let's write a year here, for example, 1999. Let's write like this, for example, March and the 1st. Okay, you can see here, I just write March 1st and 1999. And I have here one checkbox. Let's change this date. Let's see what we have here. For example, date time. If I refresh this, you can see I can write here date time like this. Let's say like this, 11 and 30. Okay, sorry guys. Okay, 11 and 30. Or let's change this date time to what we can write. We can write here we saw this checkbox. You can see here we have a bunch of types here. For example, let me show you this submit button. If I refresh this, I have here the submit button. We can click on this. It is cool thing. So except these text files, we can create here the text area. Let me come here after this BR. I'm just gonna say the text area. Sorry, I made a mistake here. I should write the text area and close this, and I'm just gonna close this tag off. Okay, and inside this text area, we can, if you want to just make this default, we can make this default. Let's just remove this radio button. If I refresh this, you can see I have here the text area, and this text area completely different than this text, because this text has the, let's say, default length or default height and the width, but in here in our text area we don't have anything like this. We can write here whatever we want, and we can just make this bigger or littler or whatever you want. Okay, and by the way, you can give here by default rows and columns. For example, we've talked about rows. We said rows are the actually horizontal lines like this across my web page, and the columns are all the way up from down or up from down. Okay, let's just create them. I'm gonna say the columns, for example, let's write 20 column. I will have 20 column, and I will have, for example, 30 rows. If I refresh this, you can see by default I have here the 20 columns and 30 rows here. You can see I can now just write this. So let's just close this. Like I said before, guys, you cannot get actually user input from your user because we don't use here JavaScript. This course doesn't cover JavaScript. Yeah, you should know what is JavaScript, and you should use this input tag with JavaScript. And when you use JavaScript, you should create one more tag, and that is called the form tag. Okay, if you want to get complete or exact user input, you should create this form tag here. Let's just close this off, form tag. And you can see here, when I refresh this page, nothing will change here. We've talked about this before. This form tag will do nothing or will not change looks of your website. But it is just the form tag, and it will increase the readability. And also, when you use JavaScript, you should create this form tag, and you should create your input tags inside this form tag. Okay, guys. So by the way, you can write the default name for this. Let's just make this, for example, 10. If I refresh this, yeah, 10 is good. You can write here the default name like we do for our text. You can come here inside this text area, and you can say enter your text here. Okay, if I refresh this page, you can see enter your text here. Okay, and except this text, we have other things. For example, we can add file to our website. If I refresh this, Let's just refresh this. Okay, you can see here it says the choose file. If I click choose file, I can choose any files here. Okay, or let's change this file to, for example, range. Okay, if I refresh this, it will give me a range here like this. For example, if you create a CV or the resume, you can say, for example, I know Java in this range. For example, I know HTML in this range, or etc. Okay, guys, I think we're done here. We talked about getting user input from our user, and we said if you want to get exact user input, you should use the JavaScript. We're gonna have the course that will cover JavaScript. You can get it from the description. Let's finish this lesson here. Let's see you in the next video.